There is an island somewhere on this planet that broke away from a continent 70 million years ago. It drifted across the ocean. It settled. And then it was left completely alone. Over those 70 million years, it developed its own animals, its own plants, its own rules. More than 90% of everything alive on that island exists nowhere else on Earth. We are going there tonight. But first, there are 11 others. There are roughly 50,000 islands on this planet. Most are small, a shoulder of rock above the tide. But a handful are something else. They are vast, ancient. Some are frozen, some burn with volcanoes. Some are so biologically strange that the scientists who first studied them thought they must be dreaming. Tonight, we visit the largest and most extraordinary of them, one by one, slowly, in the dark. Each island is a world. Each one has been asking the same question for millions of years. As the question is, what does life become when it is left completely alone? The answers are unlike anything you have heard before. Let us begin at the top of the world. The largest island on Earth is Greenland. Here is something that surprises almost everyone. On most maps you have ever seen, Greenland looks almost as large as Africa. In reality, Africa is 14 times bigger. That is not a rounding error. That is the map lying to you, a distortion baked into the projection used in most classrooms for centuries. Even corrected, Greenland is staggering. It stretches more than 2,600 kilometers from its southern tip to its northern shore. If you placed it over Europe, it would reach from Ireland to Moscow. And almost all of it is covered in ice. The Greenland ice sheet is up to 3 kilometers thick. Beneath it is land, bedrock, valleys, mountains that has not seen sunlight in hundreds of thousands of years. Scientists drill down into it and pull up long cylinders of frozen time. Each layer is a year. Each trapped air bubble is a sample of the ancient atmosphere, a record of Earth's climate stretching back 800,000 years. The ice is a library, and it is 3 kilometers tall. Along Greenland's coasts, life moves slowly and carefully. The Arctic fox changes its coat with the seasons, brown and gray in summer, pure white in winter, as though the animal is part of the landscape's own breathing. The musk ox stands motionless against the wind with a patience that feels geological. Beneath its long outer guard hairs is a layer of wool so fine it traps air like a living insulation. The animal barely moves on the coldest days. It simply endures. Greenland's 56,000 people, most of them Inuit, the island's original inhabitants, have lived along these coasts for thousands of years, long before any European ship arrived. Tonight, somewhere on the island, the northern lights are moving, slow curtains of green and violet folding above the ice without a sound. Stay with that image for a moment. Then we move south. But not all islands are cold. Some are impossibly alive. Every branch, every shadow, every meter of air, full of something new. New Guinea is the second largest island on Earth. It may also be the most biologically extraordinary place on the planet. Not the Amazon, not the Congo, this island. Its interior is dominated by rugged mountains reaching above 4,000 meters, peaks with snow just a few degrees from the equator. Between them run valleys so deep and so difficult to cross that communities living within sight of each other remained entirely isolated for centuries. That isolation produced something remarkable. Papua New Guinea alone contains more than 800 distinct languages. nearly 1 in 8 of all the languages spoken on Earth, in a country of 10 million people. Nowhere else on the planet comes close. Then there are the birds, and the birds of paradise are so extravagant that early European naturalists who received their skins believed they must be supernatural. The first specimens arrived with their feet removed, and so scholars assumed the birds had no feet at all, that they were creatures of pure air, that they floated forever through an eternal sky. They were wrong. But the truth is just as strange. The Rajiana bird of paradise hangs upside down and fans cascading plumes of deep orange and crimson, trembling. The superb bird of paradise spreads a cape of iridescent blue-green into a near-perfect oval, transforming himself, in the shadows of the forest, into something that looks less like a bird and more like an open eye. New Guinea is also home to cassowaries, flightless birds as tall as a person, with a blade-like casque on their heads and claws that can open a body in a single kick. And tree kangaroos, marsupials that climbed back into the canopy over millions of years, curving their claws, lengthening their tails, redefining what a kangaroo is allowed to be. The island is still being understood. Let the rain fall over it as you breathe. The next island is older, much older. Its forest has been growing without interruption for 130 million years. Borneo is the third largest island on Earth, and its rainforest is among the oldest on the planet, 130 million years old. When this forest was already ancient, the dinosaurs were still walking. In one recent 5-year period, scientists working in Borneo identified more than 2,000 species previously unknown to science. More than one new species, every single day. The Bornean orangutan moves through the canopy with a slow deliberateness that seems almost contemplative. The name itself tells you everything. Orang means person. Utan means forest. The forest person. They use tools. They plan. They remember the locations of fruit trees across a home range that takes weeks to traverse. A mother carries her infant for up to 8 years, longer relative to lifespan than almost any other mammal on Earth. At night, the orangutan builds a new sleeping platform high in the trees, carefully weaving branches into a cushioned nest. Every night, a new nest, a fresh beginning. The pygmy elephant of Borneo, smaller, rounder, and notably gentler than mainland elephants, wades through forest rivers. Its ancestors arrived thousands of years ago and, slowly, became something distinct, something shaped by the island, something that could only exist here. The forest of Borneo is under enormous pressure. What remains is worth more than can be measured. For now, let us simply rest inside it, in the hum and the green and the weight of 130 million years. Now, the island that broke away from Africa 70 million years ago. The one we mentioned at the very beginning, the one with its own rules. Madagascar. It separated from Africa around 88 million years ago and drifted to its current position off the eastern coast. Since then, completely alone, evolving in isolation for nearly 90 million years. And the result is unlike anywhere else on Earth. More than 90% of Madagascar's wildlife is found nowhere else in the world. Not in Africa, not on any other island, nowhere. Just here. Over 100 species of lemur. All descended from a single ancestor that arrived, somehow, impossibly, by crossing the open ocean, perhaps clinging to a raft of vegetation millions of years ago. The Indri is the largest. It sits in the trees of Madagascar's eastern rainforest and calls in long, rising wails that carry for kilometers. The sound is unlike anything else in nature, haunting and slow and full of something that feels older than language. The ai moves through the forest at night. It taps bark with a long skeletal middle finger, listening for hollow spaces where grubs hide beneath the surface. Then it gnaws a hole with ever-growing teeth and extracts the grub with that same extraordinary finger. It is filling the ecological role of a woodpecker, except it is a primate. A half of all the chameleon species on Earth live in Madagascar. Each one moves through the world with eyes that rotate independently, seeing in two directions at once, reading a version of reality no human can access. The Malagasy people arrived here over 2,000 years ago, sailing in outrigger canoes from Borneo, more than 6,000 kilometers across the open Indian Ocean. None of them had ever seen this island before. They found it anyway. In Madagascar, past and present breathe together. Let them, now, further north, where the land is vast and empty, and the silence is a physical thing you can feel against your skin. Baffin Island is the 5th largest island on Earth. It is roughly the size of Spain. Its population is around 13,000 people. The rest of the island, essentially all of it, is empty of human presence in a way that is almost impossible to fully imagine. Not empty of life, empty of us. Sonnet's fjords are among the most dramatic geological formations on the planet. Sheer walls of ancient Precambrian rock so old it formed before complex life existed on Earth, rising hundreds of meters straight from the water, carved by glaciers over millions of years. In the waters around Baffin, narwhals move in groups through the cold sea, and the narwhal's tusk, which can reach 3 meters in length, is actually a tooth, a modified left upper canine that grows through the whale's lip in a left-hand spiral. For centuries, narwhal tusks washing ashore in Europe were believed to be unicorn horns. They were worth more than their weight in gold. Kings kept them as treasures. As the real animal is stranger than any myth. Narwhals dive to depths of 1,500 meters, in total darkness, navigating by echolocation through water just above freezing, and they rise again, impossibly, into the light. Polar bears cross Baffin's ice in a slow, energy-conserving walk that looks unhurried, but covers vast distances day after day. Their fur appears white but is actually colorless and hollow. Their skin beneath is black, absorbing every photon of Arctic warmth that reaches them. On Baffin Island, the silence is a presence, not an absence, a deep and ancient quiet that goes all the way back through geological time. Let yourself settle into it. The next island sits on one of the most geologically violent places on Earth. It nearly ended humanity, and it is still burning. Sumatra is the 6th largest island on Earth and among the most geologically violent. When 74,000 years ago, a volcano in northern Sumatra erupted. It was one of the largest eruptions in 25 million years. The ash cloud darkened global skies. Temperatures fell. Some researchers believe that the event reduced the entire human population to just a few thousand individuals. A bottleneck so severe it left permanent traces in our shared DNA. In some real sense, we are all survivors of Sumatra. Today, Sumatra's forests hold 3 of the world's most critically endangered large mammals, all on the same island, and the Sumatran tiger moves through dense undergrowth in complete silence. Its stripes are narrower than any other tiger subspecies, an adaptation for dense vegetation, where the pattern dissolves you into shadow. Fewer than 400 are believed to remain. The Sumatran rhinoceros is the rarest large mammal on Earth. Fewer than 80 individuals survive. It is the only Asian rhino with 2 horns, and it is covered in reddish-brown hair that makes it look like something closer to the woolly rhinos of the Ice Age than to any modern species. It looks, honestly, like a memory. And yet, the forest breathes. Gibbons call across the canopy at dawn in long liquid notes. Sun bears does in the branches of strangler figs. The slow green world continues, holding these animals inside it. Not without effort, not without care, but it continues. Now, an island shaped entirely by human hands. Not wild, but still carrying wildness in its mountains and its fog. Honshu is the largest island of Japan, and the 7th largest on Earth. It is home to more than 100 million people, including Tokyo, the largest metropolitan area on the planet. And yet, paradoxically, around 70% of Honshu is covered in forest. That is not an accident. It is the result of terrain too steep for agriculture, and a culture that has for centuries understood forests as sacred. The Japanese word satoyama describes the landscape where human settlement meets mountain forest, a boundary zone that is neither fully wild nor fully tame, and that has been maintained with extraordinary care for generations. In the mountain forests, Japanese macaques, snow monkeys, sit in geothermal hot springs in winter, their faces flushed pink with warmth, watching snow fall around them with expressions of such calm they seem almost philosophical. The Japanese crane, the tancho, performs a courtship dances with its lifelong partner, bowing, leaping, throwing sticks into the air. They mate for life, and their dance is one of the most quietly beautiful performances in the natural world. Mount Fuji rises above everything, symmetrical, white-peaked, an active stratovolcano that last erupted in 1707, and that has been the subject of art, poetry, and pilgrimage for over 1,000 years. The Shinto traditions of this island do not place humanity above nature. They place it within nature, in a world where forests and rivers and mountains contain kami, spirits deserving of reverence, where the sacred is not somewhere else. It is here, in the rain on old stone, in the bells fading into morning air. Let Mount Fuji sit at the edge of your mind as the next island comes into view. And the next island is the one that shaped more of the modern world than any other its size. Its language is on every continent, its history is layered over centuries, and on its coast, tonight, a gray seal is floating on its back in the moonlit sea. Great Britain is the 9th largest island on Earth. Its influence on the modern world is without parallel for any island its size. The English language is spoken by more than 1 billion people. Common law, parliamentary democracy, the Industrial Revolution, the theory of evolution, all emerged from or were profoundly shaped by this one island, barely 1,000 kilometers long. And yet Great Britain is also a landscape of extraordinary quiet. The highland moors of Scotland stretch under enormous skies, carpeted in heather that turns purple in late summer, cut through by rivers cold enough to ache. The ancient oak forests of Wales have been growing since before the Norman conquest. The chalk cliffs of the south coast glow white above the channel in the early morning light, and the red deer of the Scottish Highlands is the largest native land mammal left in Britain. Each year the stag grows a fresh set of antlers, one of the fastest growing biological tissues known to science. and in the autumn rut, stags roar across the glens in contests of sound and strength, their breath visible in cold air, or the puffin nests in cliff-top burrows around Scotland's northern coasts. It dives with wings that work equally well as flippers and returns to its burrow with its beak full. Up to 60 small fish held at once by a tongue adapted specifically for the purpose. 60 fish. In a beak the size of a thumb. Gray seals swim off the Cornish coast with their eyes half closed, enormous and whiskered, moving through the water in slow spirals. If you swim near them, they come closer. They watch you with a dark curiosity that feels ancient and unhurried. And the island endures. It always has. Now, further north, still. Beyond where most people ever travel, beyond where most maps bother to show any detail at all. Canada's Arctic archipelago contains some of the most remote landscapes on Earth. Victoria Island, the 8th largest island in the world, is roughly the size of Spain. Its human population is fewer than 2,000 people. The musk oxen living there outnumber the humans. The wolverine roams Victoria's interior across ranges that can span 1,000 square kilometers. It will drive bears and wolves away from kills 10 times its own weight, not through size, but through a ferocity so concentrated and so unyielding that larger predators simply leave. It finds what it needs in a landscape that seems to offer nothing. It always finds it. On Ellesmere Island pushes even further north. Its northernmost coastline is less than 800 kilometers from the geographic North Pole. Glaciers here are among the oldest ice masses in the Arctic. Fjords so remote they are rarely visited even by scientists. The musk oxen of Ellesmere survived the Ice Age. They stood alongside woolly mammoths and watched them disappear. They endured the warming. They are still here, their inner wool called kiviot, the warmest natural fiber on Earth, holding the heat of their bodies against temperatures that fall to 50 below. In summer, the sun does not set for months. The tundra flowers in sudden, urgent profusion, poppies and saxifrage pushing through thin soil with a determination that seems almost defiant. Life insists on itself, even here, especially here. Now, we move to islands that are not empty at all. Islands so full of human life they press against the edges of imagination, and yet, even there, the planet keeps its secrets. Java, the 13th largest island on Earth, is home to over 150 million people. It is the most densely populated island in the world, and along its volcanic spine, more than 40 volcanoes rise above the surrounding plains. Some of them still active, still shaping the land, still reminding everyone that the ground here is alive. Inside the crater of the volcano Ijen, blue flames burn in the darkness. Not orange or red. Blue. Sulfuric gases igniting at the crater wall, producing a ghostly azure fire that flickers against the black rock and the acid lake below. Nothing prepares you for it the first time you see it. Blue fire in the dark of a volcano. The planet never stops surprising. Luzon, the largest island of the Philippines, contains the Banaway rice terraces, carved into the mountains by the Ifugao people over 2,000 years ago. They follow the contours of the hills across thousands of square kilometers. From above, the landscape looks like it is breathing, step by step down to the valley floor, where the Philippine eagle patrols Luzon's forests with a wingspan of nearly 2 meters and a crest of feathers that gives it an almost lion-like profile. It is critically endangered. Fewer than 800 remain. Conservation teams spend their lives protecting it. On the island of Sulawesi, a strange peninsular island of deep bays and isolated valleys, the babirusa wanders the forest with tusks that curve up through the skin of its own snout, growing in a wide arc above its face. It is a design that seems almost accidental, almost too strange to exist. But there it is. And the maleo bird lays its eggs in volcanic ground, relying on the Earth's own heat to incubate them. It is the only bird known to use geothermal warmth this way, not the sun. The volcano itself, doing the work. The islands of Southeast Asia are a story of biological richness and human creativity, braided together. They are proof that islands are not edges. They are centers. There is a reason all of this exists. A reason islands produce such extraordinary life. Science found the answer, and it changed the way we understand the natural world. For a long time, scientists wondered why islands produce such extraordinary biodiversity. The answer came in 1967 from two ecologists named E.O. as Wilson and Robert MacArthur. Their theory of island biogeography was elegant. The number of species on an island is determined by a balance between colonization and extinction. Larger islands support more species because they offer more habitat. Closer islands receive more arrivals, and isolated populations cut off from gene flow drift genetically and become something new. The theory transformed ecology. It explained Darwin's finches. It explained the dodo. It explained the lemurs of Madagascar and the tree, the kangaroos of New Guinea, and the pygmy elephants of Borneo. And it had an urgent practical use. Large, connected habitat patches protect biodiversity far better than small, fragmented ones. The theory became the scientific foundation of modern conservation. Islands are evolution's laboratories. On a continent, change is gradual, blurred by constant gene flow between populations. On an island, populations are isolated. Change can happen faster, in stranger directions. The usual rules relax, and something new becomes possible. Thus the Galapagos finches, the Komodo dragon, the kiwi of New Zealand, the tuatara, a reptile so ancient it is the sole survivor of a lineage that predates the dinosaurs. None of these creatures are accidents. They are the products of isolation and time and the patient, undirected creativity of natural selection, working in places where the answer could only come out one way. Every major island is a different answer to the same question. What does life become when it is left alone? We have traveled far tonight. From the ice of Greenland to the jungle of New Guinea. From the ancient forest of Borneo to the lemur-filled wilderness of Madagascar. From the frozen silence of Baffin and Ellesmere to the volcanic fire of Sumatra and Java. From the sacred forests of Honshu to the windswept moors of Great Britain. Every island, a different world. Every island, a different answer. And across all of them, a few things hold. There is always the edge, the coastline where the land meets the sea, cliff or sand or mangrove or marsh, a boundary that has been shifting for millions of years and will keep shifting long after us. There is always the interior, some heart of the island harder to reach, less disturbed, still holding something close to what it was before. And there is always the animals, shaped by isolation into creatures so specific, so precisely themselves, that they could only have come from here. Right now, as you listen, the tide is coming in around an island somewhere on Earth. The shore receives it without resistance. It has been doing this for millions of years. A narwhal is descending through black Arctic water, its tusk tilted forward like a slow question mark against the dark. A ring-tailed lemur is curled in the fork of a tamarind tree on Madagascar, its breath slow and even, its tail wrapped around itself for warmth. A snow monkey is half asleep in a hot spring in Japan, steam rising around it in the cold mountain air, its eyelids heavy. A muskox is standing in the wind on Ellesmere Island, perfectly still, its breath barely visible, all of them resting, all of them carried by the night. But the islands will be here in the morning. The ice will still be moving, very slowly toward the sea. The forests will still be breathing. The birds will be building their dawn songs from silence. You do not need to hold any of it. It is all still there. Let your thoughts settle now, like sediment drifting through still water. Let the images soften at the edges. The narwhal descending, the lemur curled in the tree, the glacier moving a millimeter in the dark. And they are all part of the same world. The same blue planet, circling the same sun, turning slowly through the dark. And somewhere on that planet, surrounded on all sides by the sea, the big islands rest, and you rest with them. Good night.